been a while since I made an advice video, but today I got a message from somebody who I won't name, but I will obviously read their message and respond to it, and hopefully I can give this person some great advice. So to you, I hope you're watching, and I hope this video helps. So let's get right into it. In September 2016, me and my mother moved in with my uncle. At first, my uncle was very nice towards me and my mother, but as the months went on, my mother and my uncle would get into verbal fights over stuff. For instance, my uncle would lecture my mother if she lit candles or if an item was positioned a certain way. That raises my first question. How old is your uncle? It's a very weird personality. It's actually how people act when they have dementia. They get angry and irritated over small things or things that don't really make sense. I'd be interested to know how old he is, because if he has dementia, this could explain a lot of what you told me, actually. I would always witness these fights, and they became very overwhelming for me to handle. They were so overwhelming that I had my first panic attack at school. So I'm going to guess you're young. I don't know if you're in elementary school or high school, but regardless, yes, these kind of fights can definitely cause these issues for young people, and if you're at school. When I was 14 is when my family's fighting began, ended at about 20, 21 years old. It went on for about 7 years for me. What I had to go through was very terrible as well. I had a lot of family abuse between my parents and my brother. So I can definitely empathize with you here. Ever since then, I was put on anti-anxiety medication to help me out. Anti-anxiety medication I'm strongly against because it does actually cause suicidal thoughts, and people have committed suicide from taking anti-anxiety medication. Many people have even said that taking anti-anxiety medication has actually made them feel more anxious. Kind of like how antidepressants make you feel more depressed and cause suicide. Medication in general I'm very much against, but these two particularly because they just do the opposite effect for a lot of people. My mother was very reluctant on giving me the medication because she was worried that they would give me suicidal ideation and that I'd become addicted to them. Not per se addicted, but dependent would be the word, and your mom was probably right. She only gave me a little at a time. Fast forward in February 2017. My uncle kicks me and my mother out, and my uncle texts my mother all types of upsetting texts. He even tried to hit my mother. That happened a lot with my brother towards my mom. We were able to get away from him, and ever since then we have not seen him. That's good, I'm glad you haven't seen him. Do you by any chance feel guilt for not seeing him, or maybe like you feel guilt for him going away in the first place? You shouldn't feel guilt. Whenever somebody acts like this towards you and a member of your family, clearly they're causing you a lot of pain and a lot of emotional, mental, physical, and verbal abuse. You should actually be happy not to see him, and I hope that not seeing him has caused you to improve within your life, as well as your mother's. Ever since we experienced living with my uncle, I have become dependent on anti-anxiety medication. I take about 2 or 3 a day. I've become so dependent that I can't sleep without them, eat without them, or function normally through the day without them. I'm just curious, because you haven't seen him in a while, so why do you think you still need them now? Of course, there's PTSD, which you may be suffering from, but I find it very interesting that you don't see him anymore, but you're still dependent on these. Of course, maybe it was only a few days ago or weeks ago that he stopped being in your life. However, if what you want is to wean off this medication and he's not around to essentially make the effects worse, I would suggest going to see a counselor or a therapist that you can see continuously. Me simply making one video is not going to be enough because this kind of situation involves multiple sessions. You can't just do it one time. Every time I'm dealing with a stressful time, I take my anti-medication. Lately, I've noticed I've been having suicidal ideation and I have been holding on to anger towards my uncle. So that's probably what it is. You're just holding on to this anger towards him, and that's causing you to be more depressed, to need the medication more and more often, and as well causing you suicidal thoughts. What I can say to you right now is to let go of that. It's very difficult to let go of the memories or the trauma from being abused by somebody. But what I can tell you, and again, that's one of those things you have to work on over time. I can't just say it right now and then boom. But what I can say is for you to look into yourself and think to yourself, what is the most important thing for you? Is the most important thing holding on to this anger because you know that he deserves it? Or are you more important? And in almost every case, actually every case, the answer is you. I understand what he did to you and what he did to your mom, and you feel like, what you probably feel like, because many people feel this, by the way, is that if you let go of the anger, you're essentially letting him win. I've thought this when I was younger. Many people that I try and help think this. They go, oh, I can't just let go of the anger because then I'm letting him win. But the truth is, letting it go is actually letting you win. Because he's not going to change who he is. He can't change who he is. But what you can change, however, is how you react to it. What you can change is how you live your life from this point on. And what you can change is your own mental, emotional, and physical health. You're clearly deteriorating because of these thoughts. It's causing you to need more medication, and it's causing you suicidal thoughts, which is the lowest and the worst thing for you right now. If you can find a way, and again, I'll help you through that if you want over time, if what you need is to let go of these thoughts of anger towards him, that's what you need to do, because you will not be able to go on with your life until you let go of any anger you have towards him. My mother believes the medication is causing me to have suicidal ideation, and she's correct. I really want to forgive my uncle because I believe that's what is causing me to become so dependent on the medication, but I'm not sure. Yes, that is correct. You do need to forgive him. But as I said before, you don't forgive him for his actions. You forgive him for yourself. You forgive him so that you can heal. That's the way you need to think of it. It actually helps a lot better if you think of it that way, because in your mind you can create anything, and you can create this too. I really hate being on medication for my anxiety and panic issues, and I don't want to hold on to any more anger any longer towards my uncle, but I'm not sure if that's a good idea. Well, it is a good idea. I can tell you that right now, that one of the best things for you, if not the best thing for you, is to actually locate that anger within you and let go of it. And the way to do that is to forgive him. But again, you're not letting him win. You're not forgiving him for his actions. You're forgiving him so that you can move on. Many people don't move on, not because of what some abuser did to them, but because of the grudges and the trauma that they hold within themselves towards that person. Let me give an idea on what type of person he is. He spent 22 years in prison for robbery. He lectures people a lot. Like, for instance, he lectured my mother for quitting a job she didn't like, but my mother was finding another job and she had child support income to support me and her until she found a job. My uncle picked on me and belittled my mother because I did not know how to ride a bike. He's a complete asshole. My mother couldn't afford to buy me a bicycle because my mother struggled financially very bad when I was growing up, and my mother told him that, but he still didn't care, and he found it funny and wasn't understanding. He threw me and my mother's stuff out on the street as he was kicking us out. He wished death upon people too. He's a complete asshole. We can establish that quickly. He left a voicemail last year trying to apologize, but me and my mother were not ready to speak to him. I don't think you should speak to him at all. Even if you do find yourself ready, a lot of times all those feelings of trauma come back to you when you speak to somebody who has done these things. That's also very common. These feelings just come back. All the stress that you may have let go of will come back. The PTSD, all that kind of stuff. Now you may think, well, if I don't speak to him, how can I forgive him? You can. You don't need to actually talk to him to forgive him. You're forgiving him for yourself. You don't actually need to speak to him and go, I forgive you. You just need to forgive him within yourself and forgive yourself for feeling guilt. I have a feeling that you may be feeling guilty inside for a number of things, but recognize that you didn't do anything wrong. He left a nasty voicemail just because we ignored him, and he wanted us to stay away from anyone he loves because he'd hate for us to die. He's a terrible human being, to be honest. I'm now taking medication every day, and I'm realizing they are affecting my mental health, and I'm holding on to the anger I have towards him. I don't know what to do. The medication is making me depressed and feeling suicidal because I keep having flashbacks of what my uncle did, PTSD. But at the same time, I'm trying to forgive so that I can stop having these flashbacks and so that I can stop feeling all panicky and stop using medication. My mother and I believe he has a lot of narcissistic traits. I can see that. Tons of them. Probably all of them. He belittles people, but he hates it when people call out his mistakes. I'm sorry if this is a lot. It's a lot more, but I feel this is kind of a summary of what's been going on with me. Okay. So as I said, there's not really any stern advice I can give right here on camera because this is the kind of situation that needs to be done over time. This situation is not a question and an answer. this situation is a progression. We need to work on your PTSD, your flashbacks, your memories, your past. We need to work on those things. We need to work on you forgiving him, which will allow you to forgive yourself, and then allow you to move on. But what I can tell you on video is at least the stuff that's true. He is a complete jerk, someone you do not need to concern yourself with. I believe you should spend your time focusing on yourself, focusing on your health, focusing on your mother, caring for her, allowing her to care for you, working together so that you both can get over what he did, which is actually a good thing, by the way, because since she went through the same thing that you did, you can help each other, which is good because many people in this situation don't have support, but you have support. You have your mother to support you, and you have yourself to support her. So you have a great support team going on right here. So what you need to do, as I said, is forgive yourself to allow you to forgive him, and then to move on. But this is not something that's going to be fixed after this video, and it won't be fixed by tomorrow either. It'll be fixed over time. It could even take you months, potentially years, depending on just how bad he is and what he did to you. I do hope this video helped at least somewhat, and I hope that I can help you myself should you want to contact me after this video. Be strong and don't feel guilty at all, just in case you do, because everything that he has done and everything that your mother has faced is not your fault. It is entirely 100% his fault. People with narcissism, they usually try and charm others, basically trying to make themselves look like a great person while hurting others, and that can cause the person that they're hurting to almost feel like they're to blame because the narcissist is victim play. I imagine he has tried to victim play, potentially push blame on you even though he deserves it, but I think you are smart enough to know that you don't actually have any blame in this, and that's good, because you are smart enough to know that he is a narcissist to begin with.